Hello slashing friends, this is my rapid fire endgame for the new season on Diablo 4 with the Rogue. You'll be using the new ring and end up with some great DPS and a very good mobility. This build is very versatile and you'll be able to do any activity in the endgame. I'll explain everything in that video, and if you like the content, don't forget to subscribe. Before giving you the gear and so on, I just wanted to show you how this character works. So you'll want to use Heartseeker and Rapid Fire in order to do some damage, and if you run out of energy, and you'll have Shadow Step in order to have some mobility and also the dash. You'll want to play with the Poison Trap in order to debuff your enemies, and Poisoned Imbuments in order to boost your core skill. We'll also be using another skill which will proc by using this one with the Dark Shroud. So it's this aspect and it's the same one in the new patch. So you just need to use your attack in order to proc the shadows. Finally, in the very late game, if you see that we have enough energy, because we generate plenty of energy with this build, you can swap this attack for another skill, for example an utility one or an ultimate. For the skill, you want to get here the fact that you'll get some attack speed, and this one for the critical strike damage. You also want 5 points just here, and this one to have energy on a vulnerable enemy. Then you have 3 points for the damage reduction, some movement speed, and this one for the critical chance. You also want here increased critical strike damage, this one for the damage, and this one when you knock back an enemy, it will grant you increased critical strike chance. You also want 1 point here, when you knock down an enemy, you'll get some critical strike chance. You also want this one, when you land a critical strike on a dazed enemy, it will knock him down. That's why we want to have 2 points here and 1 point here. You also want 5 points just here and 1 point here in order to grant you movement speed. It's better to have this one versus this one, which will only grant you 8 critical strike chance with 2 active shadows. Then you want 1 point here, the fact that it will reset your cooldown for the imbuement, 3 points just here, 3 points here, some poison damage, damage reduction from poison enemies, 5 points here, and increased critical strike damage with poison imbuement. Finally, you want decay passive just here. For the leveling, I also put you a link below the video so that you can see how you can easily get some levels with your Rogue. For the Paragon, you want to have this glyph in order to boost your ranged damage. Then you want to have this one for the poison, the damage to poison enemies, and this one for the legendary nut. You also want here the glyph in order to boost your damage to enemies affected by trap, and then you want to get here in order to boost your critical strike damage. You also want just here this passive, and this one just here to boost your damage to vulnerable enemies. The last glyph, this one to boost your non-physical damage. Now for the gear, you want to make sure that you have this passive in order to always make your enemies vulnerable. It's very important to increase your damage, but also to generate energy. There's also a thing which is important, this one, because you want to have a chance on the temper to daze your enemies. So you have it here and you have it here. It will trigger the critical strike chance bonuses. For the rest of the gear, you want to have on your helmet the armor. This one will allow you to easily reach the new breakpoint of 9300, and then you want to have life dexterity, ranks to poison imbuments, and for the temper, life and daze chance. For your armor, you want to have the fact that you will create a Dark Shroud with a marksman skill on a lucky critical hit. And on it you want to have life dexterity, ranks to Dark Shroud, some life for the temper, and the chance to daze. Then for the gloves you want to have some dexterity, ranks to rapid fire, critical strike damage, and marksman damage. You also want for the aspect the fact that your imbuments will have additional damage against vulnerable enemies. For the pants, the fact that you'll have some damage reduction after using a basic attack, because with the new patch this one will be very important to consider, so make sure no matter the build that you use to have this one in mind. Then you want resistance to all elements, life, dexterity, and some life. You can consider a missing resistance because you don't have plenty of stuff which are interesting for the pants on the second temper. For the boots you'll have plenty of movement speed as a baseline, some life, dexterity, movement speed, and movement speed per Dark Shroud. You also want when you land a critical strike to have some movement speed with the aspect. For the weapons, you'll want the 2 same stats, so damage, dexterity, critical strike damage, and chance to have a twice projectile for rapid fire. And for this aspect, you want to have a chance to ricochet to other target with rapid fire. For for this one. This is the vampiric one that I already showed you. Then you want the Scoundrels keys in order to have rapid fire with exploding arrows, and this one the X-File in order to get some lucky hit and also to have a chance to do a poison explosion. I remind you that this poison explosion can be critical and it will help you to boost your DPS. For the amulet, the fact that it will increase your attack speed after using a core skill, and you also want damage, dexterity, resource cost reduction, marksman damage, and more cast for your poisoned imbuement. Thanks for watching this video. Don't forget that, as usual, on the link below the video, you have the builder associated with the explanation on the article.